Welcome to OLC 40. This is week 9 and we are in class 31. This is lesson 19 and the assignment, which I forgot to write, is the literacy portfolio. Okay, we're also going to talk a little tiny bit about the literacy essay yesterday because I was worried I didn't give you enough information. All right, I'm Jillian Percy. I'm in the studio right now. You can call me at 1-800-465-7144. The WASA office number is 1-800-667-3703. I will be here for a little while after I finish, but it is Halloween tonight, so I might not be here for very, very long. The fax number is 1-800-463-7852. My email is jillian.percy@nnecschools.org. I check it throughout the day. You could message me and I will try and get back to you as soon as possible. YouTube, capital G, capital P, ERCY, space, capital W, AHSA. Submit your assignments to student.work@nnec.on.ca. Please remember to put your full name, lesson number, assignment name or number, some different courses have different things, and the course. Also, make sure to mention whether it's the rough copy or the good copy if it's one of those kinds of assignments. Sometimes people don't know when I've got to kind of just guess. I get a lot of assignments. I teach 4 different courses. If I am not sure of where an assignment goes, I do not mark it right away. I just wait until I can talk to the student to be sure because every assignment has a different marking scheme. Okay. One note on language. I know some people find doing this kind of work hard. However, these are real assignments that need to be marked and it needs to be written in a formal tone and be school appropriate. It can't really include swearing or phrases like this sucked or include the F word all over the place. If you're feeling really stressed, it's totally fine to say something like, I found it very stressful to do these writing assignments, or this was challenging for me as I don't enjoy reading or writing much. But you're going to have to say it in the formal tone, not in the casual tone where yeah, some of that stuff's just not okay, guys. What to do when you don't know what to say. I understand that you may feel like you don't know what progress you made. This is talking about the essay from yesterday because I was thinking, I know some people find this kind of self-reflection very uncomfortable. But it's not okay to just say, I don't know and I don't care. Okay. If you do that, I'm going to have to ask you to do it over because I really can't mark it. And this is a major assignment. It counts for this particular grade. It also counts as part of your grade for the literacy portfolio. So it's kind of double jeopardy there. But I know some people may honestly just be looking at all the work and going, oh, I really don't know what to say. So I wanted to talk about what to do if that's happening to you. First of all, I included some questions throughout yesterday's video class, which is class number 30. And those questions are meant to be prompts to help you guide your thinking and stop and think about things. But that might not have worked for you. So another way to do this would be to physically take out the assignments and look at them. Take the journal entry from lesson 1 and the journal entry from lesson 15. Do you see improvement and what has improved? The lengths, the sentences? Is it more clear and easy to read? Do you have more interesting words? Have you followed the paragraph format more effectively? Maybe ask a friend or a DEC to help you look at your work and notice what is different or improved. I feel like I'm deliberately saying look at some of the very first assignments and look at some of the very last assignments because anyone I've seen, your writing and your reading responses are getting better. But it might be hard to see week to week. But if you look at the very first few assignments you did compared to these last assignments, I am willing to bet that you will see the difference. Okay. But if not, ask someone to help you see the difference. You could also do the same thing with like the first news report in lesson 3 and then the final news report in lesson 13. Do you see some improvements? Do you see more ability to revise your rough copy? Are you able to write longer paragraphs or assignments? Does it sound more like a news article? The other thing is, if you are really, really stuck, you might be just too hard on yourself. Okay. Think about what you would like to be true about improvements to your reading and writing. And then you could look at your writing to see if you notice those improvements in your writing. Reading is harder to notice, I think. Think positive. If this was a friend and they were showing you their work and you knew they were hoping for some compliments, what would you say to them? So, say for example, you spent a lot of time trying to make sure your run on sentences were split up into proper sentence structure. And you did that because you were really hoping to make improvements in that area. Well, then, in all likelihood, even if you're not seeing it, you probably did make improvements in that area. I mean, it's pretty rare that we practice something and not get better at it. So pretend you're writing to a best friend and wanted to cheer her up or him up. What are some positive and kind things you would say that would make that person feel good about their writing? Now, put that on yourself and say those kind things about your own reading and writing skills, okay? So, here is an example of some jot notes I might have made about my writing journey. So, let's say I'm just looking at all my writing assignments. And if you're not sure what they are, I've got them all listed in video 30. So here's my notes. I'm writing longer, better with punctuation. Always remember to write I with caps. Work on sentence structure more. Look up at least one synonym per assignment. Started using transition words at the beginning of sentences and liked my opinion piece. Okay, this is enough to get me started, right? It doesn't have to be big, ginormous changes. It can be little changes. That's just fine. So here's an example. Oh, wait. Hang on, I meant to erase that part. Okay. So here's the beginning, and here are the jot notes that I've used. Okay. So I have noticed a lot of things happening with my writing skills. That's kind of a general statement, right? Literally anybody could say that. For one thing, I am writing a lot longer paragraphs and writing multiple paragraphs, which I had never done before. Well, all that is me using my jot note of writing longer. I don't like writing much usually, although I did like doing the opinion piece. I felt pretty confident doing that because I enjoy taking sides like that. Okay, so now I've got that jot note, which really took me 2 sentences, but that's okay because I'm fleshing it out. I'm adding details, right? I'm trying to work on my sentence structure more. It is a little confusing, but at least I'm trying. So that might be something you could say about an item where you're just not sure. You've been working on it. You want me to know you're working on it, but you're not sure about the progress. That's fine. And then I get to more some of the nitpicky stuff. So I've got punctuation. I've got I'm going to tackle the words first and then do the picky stuff last. Just kind of the same way we would do it with your writing, right? Okay, so I have begun putting some transition words at the front of my sentences. I have also started looking up one synonym per assignment. Okay. So now I've used these two. Okay. I think I have gotten better with punctuation. And then you would explain, well, how? What are some things that you're doing differently? Well, I think before I was just writing one long run-on sentence, and now I'm writing shorter sentences. All right. So I think before I wrote a lot of run-on sentences. Now I am writing shorter sentences, but I know they are grammatically correct. Okay, so that's by better with punctuation, right? Awesome. All right. Okay, I am also, or hang on, I have been remembering to write I, hang on, I with capital letters, with a capital letter. Sorry, see how that sounds. It just sounds funny with a capital letter, which I kept forgetting to do at the beginning. Okay. So I haven't got a conclusion to the sentence, but I've used all my jot notes. Okay. So we're not turning the jot notes into a sentence. Like I'm just going to add it or I in front. We're using the jot note as kind of like a springboard to create a sentence from. We're using it as a concept. We don't have to use those exact words, right? So I just kind of wanted to talk about that because I realized I really hadn't talked a whole lot about how to turn the jot notes into sentences, and I realized maybe that part was hard for people. I don't know. It's tricky when I don't have people here in front of me to ask. Sorry, guys. Okay, so now I've got my original rough draft that I wrote the first time, and I want to revise it. And so up here in the little kind of yellowy beige area, I have all the questions I kind of ask myself. And you might have slightly different questions, but these are questions that if I take a look at and I'm able to answer yes, or I'm able to do some work on it, if you consistently do this, you're going to find it just becomes a second habit. You don't even need to look through the list. You'll just start doing it automatically. But B, I guarantee you, if you're doing this, then by the end, you've got a better paragraph. You just do. There's no way around it. Okay. So is there an opening sentence? Yes, I've noticed a lot of things happening with my writing skills. I might improve a lot of things happening kind of vague. A lot of maybe good things at least. I've improved it a little bit. Do I have enough sentences? I forget what the criteria was. But I was supposed to do 2 different body paragraphs. I'm pretty sure this is enough sentences. If you weren't sure, just go through and count your periods, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it should be plenty. Do I have a closing sentence? I didn't make a closing sentence for this paragraph, so I need to add one now. Let me think. These may not seem like big changes, but together they are working to make my writing stronger. Okay, so there's a sample closing sentence. Again, it's a little bit vague, right? But I think a lot of times opening and closing sentences are a little tiny bit vague because you're going to flesh out the details in the actual paragraph, right? So I've got, and I'm gonna just highlight the ones I've done so I kind of keep track. I've done those. Is it clear and understandable? Okay, so that just means if you go back, does it make sense? Sometimes what happens when people are writing fast, they'll drop off a few words. I don't know, and it just suddenly the sentence doesn't make sense. If you go back and read it out loud to yourself, usually you'll find, oh, wait, I forgot the word the, or I forgot the word to, or over, or whatever the word it is. And as you put those words back in, suddenly realize, oh, okay, this makes more sense now. So I'm going to just kind of quickly read this to myself. Okay. I've noticed a lot of good things happening with my writing skills. For one thing, I am writing a lot longer paragraphs and writing multiple paragraphs, which I've never done before. I don't like writing much usually, although I did like doing the opinion piece. I felt pretty confident doing that because I enjoy taking sides like that. I'm trying to work on my sentence structure more. It is a little confusing, but at least I am trying. This is the only sentence where, is it clear that I'm referring to sentence structure? It probably is, but I might go back and just kind of clarify because it is kind of a vague word. And when it's in a new sentence, maybe my reader is going to be confused. So I'm trying to work on my sentence structure more. Sentence structure is a complicated topic, and I find it a little confusing, but at least I'm trying. Okay. Oh, and I forgot my eyes. Hang on. When you're typing fast, that's the easiest thing to do. Okay, I have started using transition words at the beginning of some of my sentences. I usually remember to write the word I in capital letters now. I think I am doing a better job with punctuation, although where to put a comma is still a bit confusing. I have been trying to look up at least one synonym per writing assignment, although I probably should look up more. These may not seem like big changes, but together they are working to make my writing stronger. Okay, so I think it's pretty understandable. Are the sentences correct? So now we're getting to kind of the fussier part, right? Where you're going to go through, does it have a subject? Does it have a verb? Is it complete? Does it have a complete thought? Now, I've put punctuation down here only because that's where most people seem to put it. I got to be honest, most times I feel like going through my sentences and going through the punctuation really kind of go together to me. But I always see them put in a separate place during most people's version of the writing process. So I've been doing that because, like, who am I to say 10,000 other teachers are wrong? But to me, as I'm going through the sentences, I usually check the punctuation at the same time. It just seems really, I don't know, it just seems easy. And that's part of how the sentence is correct. Okay. So I've noticed a lot of good things happening with my writing skills. Okay. My subject and my verb. Yep. For one thing, there's my introductory stuff. I am writing. Subject, verb, a lot longer paragraphs and writing multiple paragraphs, which I've never done before. Sure. I don't like writing. So there's I on the subject. Don't like writing is my verb much, although I did like doing the opinion piece. Okay. I felt pretty confident doing that because I enjoy taking sides like that. Okay. And that does not need a comma there if I don't want it there because I've got my conjunction at the end, and when we do that, we don't need a comma in front of it. I am trying to work on my sentence structure more. I don't know if it sounds funny suddenly to me now that I'm reading it. I'm trying to work more on improving my sentence structure. I think because I was suddenly trying to figure out what was more describing. If it's describing work, why isn't it closer to work? Something that sounded weird to me. Anyways, sentence structure, is a complicated topic. It's a complicated topic, and I am finding it a little confusing, but at least I'm trying. Now, I was looking at the sentence and thinking, is that kind of 3 sentences at once? Or is that acceptable? And I honestly, I would have to like look things up online to have a better sense. It feels, again, I know this sounds funny, but sometimes you're using your gut. This feels a little funny. It just feels a little wrong to me. So I would want to clean it up somehow. It's a complicated topic and I find it a little confusing. You know what? I'm going to say turn it into sentence structure is a complicated topic, which I find confusing. Okay. And the reason is this whole thing now has become like a noun clause. and it's turned this whole thing into one sentence. Sentence structure is a complicated topic, which I find confusing, but at least I am trying. Okay, so basically I turned that double sentence into a single sentence, and now I'm okay. I've started using transition words at the beginning of some of my sentences. I could add one more sentence there if I wanted to. I'm okay at the moment. I usually remember to write the word I in capital letters now. Yep, that's fine. I think I am doing a better job with punctuation. Although, yeah, you know what it is? This is, it's legitimate. Although where to put a comma is still a bit confusing to me. I might go back and play with that, but I think it's technically okay, but it just still sounds a little funny to me. I've been trying to look up at least one synonym per writing assignment, although I probably should look up more. These may not seem like big changes, but together they are working to make my writing stronger. Okay. Yes, sentences are correct. Variety, yeah. As you're doing that, I find that you're automatically usually kind of beginning to get your sentence variety up. Most people, I don't find it's a big problem, to be honest. Have I used transition words or phrases? Okay. I've got things like, for one thing, I'm gonna highlight them just so you guys can see them. For one thing, I haven't much actually. So I'm gonna add a few. One thing, I'm writing longer paragraphs and writing multiple paragraphs, which I've never done before. Blah, 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 blah. In addition, I am trying to work more on improving my sentence structure. Sentence structure is a complicated topic, which I find confusing, but at least I'm trying. Also, I have started using transition words at the beginning of some of my sentences. I think. Try to think I want one here, but as well. So I've got also. I've got as well. I got in addition. So I haven't got a transition in front of every single sentence. I don't need to, but especially when you're kind of moving from one idea to another inside your paragraph, it does kind of help make the flow better. I think I'm doing a better job at punctuation. Lately, I've been trying to look up at least one synonym per writing assignment. I think I'm good with that. Okay. It's one of those ones that does not necessarily come naturally. We don't talk that way. It's a bit formal, but it is great in writing, right? In normal talking, I wouldn't just suddenly stand here and say this giant speech to people, right? And because of that, there's a lot more back and forth in talking. I take a turn, someone else takes a turn, a third person takes a turn. Because of that, these little transitions kind of help carry the paragraph along. So yes, I've used it. Have I polished up my word choices? See, I left a space here to do it, but I'm kind of just doing it right as I go along. It's probably not good. It means I'll have to redo it over. Anyways, okay. I kind of need to move on. These are some of the things I would still look for. Polished up my word choices. Have I used the correct verb tense consistently? In general, you're going to be using past tense, okay? Because you're talking about what you have done over the course of this sentence. The only time you might switch that is maybe at the end. You might be talking about going forward, I'm going to do this in the future, and then you'll be using future tense. Do you have subject verb agreement? That's just simply singular verb, singular subject, plural verb, plural subject. Have I checked punctuation? Have I checked spelling? Have I checked for correct capitalization? The biggest thing with capitalization is just the I. Okay, that's the biggest thing. All right, I'm going to move on. General example of an opening paragraph. I realized we didn't really talk about how to do an opening paragraph. So it's often thought of like an upside down triangle. You kind of open the discussion in a engaging manner. Sometimes you ask a question or do a quote or say something kind of funny that ties in. And then you get kind of more specific. And then you end with what you call your thesis statement, but what we've been calling like our opening statement, kind of the same sort of thing. This thesis, hang on, there we go. Your thesis statement, right, is like your opening statement, okay? Right. So for most of you, your statement is going to be kind of like, I've made lots of progress in some sense. Not necessarily put that simply, but that's a lot of the idea of what you're going to be getting across, right? So let's say that somebody asked me to reflect on my progress as a teacher over the first year of Teachers College, which was many, 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 many years ago. And here is a sample introductory paragraph. This is just a rough draft. It's not been gone over. I have not done all the revision steps, so you'll probably be able to tell too. It has been a long year with many ups and downs. I will never forget my first placement, where the mentor teacher simply put us immediately to work with children with learning disabilities, and then asked us at the end what our observations were. I had never expected to be responsible for knowing what to do right from the start, but that is the nature of teaching. Over the course of this year, I have learned how to write lesson plans, but more importantly, how to write a unit plan. I have learned how to make learning come alive with a variety of activities, such as songs, games, contests, and art. I may not be the teacher I dream of being, but I have come, let's see, like I said, it's the rough copy. I have come such a long way from that first crazy day in the classroom. I will show you my progress in planning, in actual instruction, and in assessment. So here is my thesis. I'm going to show you, right? I'm going to show it to you right now. I'm going to give you examples. So this is an example of a sample paragraph. I use teaching just because I didn't want to put too many words in people's mouths. But this is an idea of how to do it, right? Closing paragraph. I talked about finding other ways to say in conclusion, but I'm not sure we spent enough time talking about how to write a good closing paragraph. A closing paragraph is essentially a longer version of a closing sentence, but I realized that there's a structure to it that we didn't really discuss. So I want you to check the next page. There's a diagram of a closing paragraph, and it's kind of like a reverse triangle, but I liked this format better. So you're going to restate the thesis, just like we restate the thesis in a closing sentence. We do that at the beginning of our essay. Then we kind of summarize your body paragraph. They're saying the word assertion. Usually there's kind of a big point you're trying to get across. I think we only did 2 body paragraphs, but there might be 3. Anyways, you would summarize those. And then you might conclude your thoughts. This is interesting. With a transition to human nature. I don't know about that, but you might give an overall conclusion of some sort. This is a generic way to do it. I have a video, but I'm worried that if I do it, we're not going to have enough time. If we have time, I will go back to that video. Okay. I want to say, please remind me, but no one's talking. Okay. Once you have all your paragraphs written, go back over your essay, see how it sounds all together. Are there any words that were used too often that you need to find some synonyms? Sometimes you've cleaned up like one paragraph, and then when you go to look at the second paragraph, you're like, oh, I cleaned it up here, but now I've got too many in like overall. And I mean, reality is we're talking about reading and writing. So the words reading and writing are going to show up a lot. That can't be helped, right? Does it still sound clear and understandable? Do the opening and closing paragraphs seem to reflect or kind of echo each other? Because they should. Or do they seem as if they came from 2 completely separate essays, right? Here is your chance where you might want to sort of play with those and make sure they have some similarities, right? If you have a chance, I strongly suggest Give this to a friend to look over. Does it make sense to them? Was there any part they thought was confusing? Listen to what they have to say, but you can also trust your own judgment on what to change, right? Especially if your friend isn't taking this course, you finally know what you need to hand in. So if they think you should change something, but you're like, no, I think teacher's going to want that, trust your own judgment on that. Okay. Once you're fully satisfied, then you can hand it in. Okay. Lesson 20, the literacy portfolio. This is worth 30 marks. So you have done it. Congratulations. This is the final assignment for the Ontario literacy course. And the great news is you've already done most of the work for this assignment. Throughout this course, you've done a lot of reading and writing, which has helped you to improve your literacy skills. All the activities you've completed relate directly to what students would find on the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test. You've done all the same things, okay? With this lesson, you are going to submit your literacy portfolio in order to demonstrate that you've not only learned about the various forms of reading and writing, but also that you've learned about the importance of revising and editing your work. Throughout this course, you've been tracking your reading and writing and putting key pieces like your filled in writing logs, hint, hint, into your portfolio. You will now be handing in your literacy portfolio. You can put it in a duotang folder, which is probably the most common way. You can put it in a binder. It's your choice. Your literacy portfolio can also be submitted by sharing a digital folder, like in Google Drive, which I will talk about a little bit later. You need to use the literacy portfolio checklist on the next page and ensure that you've included all the items listed. Note, I don't know why they don't list the reading log because they mention it, but they don't list it, but it is a key component and it really does have to be there, okay? So here is the literacy portfolio and they list all the pieces. Now, here is the thing that I found a little bit confusing. They simply list the lesson it's from. They don't list the assignment number. And as you know, some of our lessons might have had 5 assignments. So if you look at the master list on Unit 1, pages 1 to 4, you can see which ones they are. I'm also going to show you on the next slide. If you find that as you're going through, you're like, oh, I forgot to hand something in, like I did the good copy, but I forgot the rough copy or something like that, finish that, hand it in, and then move on, okay? But get it done because I've got to mark it before I get the literacy portfolio. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, oh, what are they talking about? I never got this. I go through what we talk about in the next few slides because I thought it was really confusing that they didn't mention what the assignment things were. And I apologize again, I don't write the course. I came in September and was just kind of given the course. I teach it as is. Okay, so in lesson 1, assignment 5, the journal entry, all about me, that's one of your assignments to hand in. Lesson 2, assignment 9, the journal entry about learning is the one you need to hand in. Lesson 3, assignment 12 and assignment 13, that's the rough draft about the news article and then the final copy. Lesson 4, assignment 16, the journal entry, the writing process. Lesson 5, assignment 18, the journal entry on your progress. You can see we use the journal entries, right? It's a big part of this literacy portfolio. Unit 2, assignment 19, creating the brochure. Assignment 24, the information paragraph, that's lesson 7. Lesson 8, you did a series of paragraphs expressing an opinion. Lesson 9, there's nothing from there. Lesson 10, the last advertisement, the last assignment there, assignment 29, what are they selling? That's the one you're doing. Unit 3, assignment 31 in lesson 11, the journal entry on visuals. Lesson 12, assignment 34, the journal entry on the importance of reflection. Lesson 13, assignment 35 had like 4 parts. We want parts 3 and part 4. So exercise 3 was your opinion on the news report, and exercise 4 was Gary's incident. That was the news report that you guys made up. Okay. Then lesson 14 is the cover letter. Lesson 15, assignment 37, creating the resume. Lesson 15, also assignment 39, the journal entry on success. And then in unit 4, basically you're handing everything in other than lesson 18. So assignment 40, assignment 41, and assignment 43 are all getting handed in. And obviously today we're doing the literacy portfolio. The only one you don't need to hand in is the one about the scholarship. That was kind of a major project, so it doesn't need to get handed in twice. Let me see here. This is the MARC recording sheet. You can see you need to make sure you've got a cover, it's complete, it's neat, it's in order, and it's on time. Again, it's not every assignment, just the ones we've mentioned. Make sure you've got a cover letter. I mean like a title page, basically. Okay, if you're handing me in a digital portfolio, please make sure that you've joined the assignments together in order so I can find them. Okay. The only exception would be the massive essay needs to come first. Okay. I would prefer, it's one assignment. It would be easier if you didn't put it as a shared file because they're actually really hard to record in the system. If you have to gather it all together, share it as one big file, not as 25 separate files, okay? It has to be in order, and assignment number 43 needs to come first because that's the introduction to your portfolio. If you're submitting digitally, create a title page in lieu of having a cover. Title page should include the course name, the assignment name, which is just the literacy portfolio, your name, your community, and a date, okay? Remember to include the literacy portfolio checklist and that you've listed what date everything was submitted. So if there's any discrepancies, I can follow up. You only need to include the rough copies if that checklist asks for them. Okay, so there's only a couple times where they do. Remember to include the reading log, which I'm going to go over shortly. Getting time. Paper portfolio. Please make sure the portfolio has been placed in a binder or a duotang. A paper clip's just not going to be strong enough to hold it together. And I need to be able to flip through it and look at everything and have it stay in order. You also want to make sure that you've labeled the portfolio. It can be on the cover, but if it's like a binder, you don't want to write the cover, you can put it on the title page inside. The title page should include course name, assignment name, your community, and a date. Remember to include the literacy portfolio checklist, that you've listed what date everything was submitted. So if there's any discrepancies, I can follow up. Remember to include the reading log. And again, you only need to include the rough copies if the checklist specifically asks for them. Okay. Remember that you're supposed to have been keeping a reading log throughout the course. And at various points throughout the course, I've reminded you and reviewed those expectations. Remember as well that any kind of reading counts as reading. And I wanted to, hang on, just okay. Sometimes people will say, well, I don't read. Okay. Usually when people say that, they're thinking specifically of books. I'm going to show you my list in a little while. It's got oodles and oodles of things on it because there's so much more out there to read than just books. I would be really surprised if you weren't reading some of these items every week. If you really, truly don't read any of the things I mentioned, then I know what I would do if I was in that situation. I would make it up. Now, of course, I'm the teacher, so I can never say that. But you do what you have to do. For real, you need to have the reading log. I'll be looking for it and I'll be marking for it. If you don't ever read any of these things, then you need to figure out what to do and write something down and hand that in. Okay, here are traditional things: short stories, poems, plays, novels. Novels can be any type: romances, mysteries, horror, action, legends, myths, realistic fiction, fantasy, science fiction, classic literature, newspapers, magazines, encyclopedias, and letters. Okay, those are all typical things, but there's so much more. Children's book. Do you read a book to a niece or a nephew or a child? That counts. It's still reading. Song books, song lyrics, recipe books, craft instructions, car manual, furniture assembly instructions, posters, advertisements, emails, blogs, gaming cheat sites, digital magazines. Oh, emails again for some reason. Phone messages, Facebook, Discord, or WhatsApp messages, podcast transcripts, textbooks, food labels, weather reports, maps, surveys, permission slips, school notices, school newsletter, office memos, police reports, birthday cards, grocery lists, sports stats, health brochures, bumper stickers, cartoons, health and safety notices, job ads, customer complaints, movie reviews, toy reviews, Google Map instructions, restaurant menus, dictionary, thesaurus, game instructions, boxed food mix instructions like making up a cake, prescription warning labels, insurance documents, obituary notices, community notices, boil water advisories, tax forms, job application forms, bills, political ads, work schedule, work posters, hockey pool, 50-50 draws, the fresh market flyer, swimming pool rules, calendars, telephone listings, takeout menus, a flight itinerary, freight notices from the airline, workout routines, diet plans, church programs, school programs, phone app game directions, classified ads, rental ads, Tinder ads, high school schedule, train or bus schedule, Amazon ads and reviews, school report cards. Anything to do with reading counts as reading and can be recorded on your reading log. It is totally fine. It is totally legitimate. Okay. If you used up your original log, you can always copy it if you still have the blank. If you don't have the blank, you can just set up a little table like this on a piece of paper. It just has to have the date, the type of the text title or author. Sometimes that isn't obvious. Like if it's from the school, you could just put the school. Or something like this. The Sue Bolton has multiple authors, right? So I didn't worry about it. The length of time or the number of pages, whichever is easier, right? Sometimes okay, I read 20 pages in the book. Other times you're like, oh, I don't know. I think it maybe took me a minute or two to read that. Whichever works, doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be both. Main idea or comment on the book. How to make muffins for Auntie's blueberry muffin recipe. Airline ticket refund policies. Oh, I can't get a refund. I can only get a credit for the amount. Various song lyrics from different songwriters for a playlist. Different ideas like love, anger, regrets, or loneliness. School permission slip for child's upcoming field trip. Do I give permission or not? A magazine interview with Ryan Reynolds. It was basically information about the new Barbie movie. The Sue Bulletin. Lots of different articles about things happening around town. Okay. Like I said, I would normally expect to see between about 5 to 10 of those. But it really depends. But I should see at least 2 or 3, please, over the course of this course. There's just so much visual information out there. There's no way that we didn't do stuff. Now you may not have noticed it, but that was the purpose of the reading log, was to try and help you to notice it. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the exam. I'm not going to cover that today. I am going to circle back to that video I wanted to do. I was just worried that I was going to run out of time, but I want to circle back to it now because I still have a little bit of time left. Let's see here.
Study materials leaving you stuck and confused? Chegg has what you need with expert help made for your courses. Find help for thousands of subjects.
Well, guys, it took me a while, but I'm finally back to tell you how to write an excellent conclusion paragraph. Now, this specific video is going to be geared more towards an informative or argumentative piece as opposed to a narrative piece. So keep that in mind and let's get started. So there are 3 steps to writing an awesome conclusion paragraph. The first is to always make sure that you restate your thesis. Next, you want to summarize your main points. And finally, you want to draw to a close. Now remember, this is your last impression for your reader, so you need to make it count. You can do these steps in any order, but I'm going to start with restating your thesis. Here's where you remind your reader of why you wrote your essay, your main argument. But you want to make sure you're not too repetitive, so you want to reword it and say it in a different way than you did in your introduction paragraph. So take a look at this example of how to reword a thesis statement. The first example would be an example of a thesis you might include in your introduction. The second example is how you could reword that same thesis in your conclusion so you're not too repetitive. Next, when writing a conclusion, you want to make sure that you summarize your main points from your body paragraphs. Here's where you want to condense them and restate them so you're not repeating yourself, but you're making sure to drive your point home. For example, if we continue on with the same topic, you might use these main points in your body paragraphs. Studies on the positive effects of creativity in the classroom, connections between reading and memory retention, and literature circles and connections between classmates, teachers, etc. In the restated version, the bolded is the thesis statement that we restated before. After that, I've shown you an example of how you could restate your main points without being too repetitive.
So I want to pause it right there because I want to show you, this is what I was trying to talk about when I was saying echo, right? So up here at top, she's got studies on the positive effects of creativity in the classroom. And then she kind of goes down here. As stated previously, studies show that there are positive effects when students are given the opportunity to be creative in the classroom. It's the same thing, it's just put into a sentence. Connection between reading and memory retention. In addition, studies also show there's a direct link between reading information repeatedly and memory retention. The more kids read, the more they learn. So she turned that basic concept into 2 sentences to help herself do that. And then literature circles and connections between classmates kind of falls apart. I can't quite see that there, but I just wanted to show you that's the kind of thing I was talking about, how there's a bit of an echo, like it sounds similar, but not exactly the same.
And finally, you need to draw your conclusion to a close so that you don't leave your reader wondering what's next. There are a couple ways you can do this, but some of the most popular are making a final impactful observation, having a call to action, or even ending with a powerful quotation. So here's an example of each: an observation, a call to action, and even a quotation. All of these are really powerful ways to end your concluding paragraph and your...
Okay, I'm going to pause this. So an observation, if all of these positives come from reading and writing, it only makes sense to require these classes for students. I would actually say it's more like a conclusion, but that works. Call to action. That's when you want people to change something. It's time that schools make a change to their curriculum. Schools have to require reading and writing every year for every student. They do already, of course. But anyways, that's an example. Quotation. Reading and writing are essential to students' future success, and they must be used together, not on an either-or basis. Students need both. As author Pam Allen says, reading is like breathing in and writing is like breathing out. That's definitely a way you could close. It's also the kind of thing you can do to open. Okay, hang on.
Essay as a whole. They make an impact, they address your final point, but they also let your reader know that you're finished. So there you have it, the easiest way to write an awesome conclusion paragraph. Do make sure that you restate your thesis, summarize your main points, and draw it to a close. However, you want to make sure that you don't drag it out, don't introduce brand new information, don't leave the reader with questions, and did I mention, don't repeat yourself. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so I thought she did a nice job of explaining that, which is why I wanted to grab that. We are basically done. We have covered everything. This is the literacy portfolio. Again, if there's something you haven't handed in, be sure to do so. Obviously, you need to finish assignment 43 before you hand me in the literacy portfolio, because assignment 43 is kind of the introduction to your entire literacy portfolio. I don't think I have very many students who are trying to wrap it up this week, but if anybody does, please reach out to me, because I would want to see where you are, and we could talk about whether you're ready for the exam and all that kind of stuff. Most people are signed up as independent students or like independent learning students. So then you've got until I think about middle of June to finish this, but keep in mind, you don't want to wait that long. There's a lot to do. It's better to try and keep going and submitting these assignments now than waiting to the very end of waiting to the very end of the year and trying to hand everything in at once. It's really challenging for me to mark 20 assignments at once. So if you send them in as dribs and drabs throughout the year as you finish them, it's much, much easier. Also, there is an admin week next week, and then the week after I will be reteaching this course. So if you feel like you kind of missed out on some things, it will be happening all over again in about 2 weeks or so, okay? I will talk to you guys tomorrow and we'll look at that exam.